Hello everybody, my name is ergo.josh and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about critiques and how to give critique, receive critique, ask for critique, the difference between criticism and critique, and what not to do when you're giving a critique. But before we get into the main meat of this video, I just wanted to let you know that you're watching me draw a few figures, first on Procreate and then in Clip Studio Paint. I was referencing some cool streetwear Japanese photography from Pinterest, and I just wanted to capture the gesture of the figures as well as be inspired by the outfits. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the video, shall we? Constructive criticism is simply the act of giving criticism to someone who has asked for it, and your goal is to help them improve by giving them knowledge that you think that they don't have based off of what you see, and giving them an idea of what to do better, showing them what is wrong and explaining what that is specifically, all with the goal, again, to make them do better and not to slander them or disappoint them or ridicule them or make them feel bad. Now, the best way to do this is the sandwich method. So the sandwich method is simply encasing your critique in some compliments. So the first compliment is usually the bread, the top layer of the sandwich, and it can just be kind of generic. Then you get into the critique, and then your final should be a little bit of more serious compliments where you're talking about things that are actually good with the artwork. And it's also pretty good to mix in some compliments and critiques here and there throughout the entire process. Now, there's two reasons why this is very important. The first is that it is actually just as helpful to know what is doing well, what is going right with the image or the artwork, whatever it is, as it is to know what's not going well or what mistakes there are. This not only helps other people, but if the person happened to do it by accident, then they know it's something that they should keep doing. And it's just an overall great way to build encouragement and enthusiasm and build motivation, because we all need that to get through this long journey. Now, the second reason is a more interesting one. Basically, it's grounded in the fact that as human beings, we all have emotions. Now, the thing about emotions is that it really makes us do a lot of things and drives how we do things and hear things specifically. So if you notice, what happens when you get pissed off is that you have a really hard time listening to what someone really has to say. The moment you make someone angry or disrespect them, they basically stop listening to you and go on offensive or defensive mode. This is not what we want to do because, of course, if they're already upset with us, then the whole point of the critique is ruined because they're not going to be able to take it and hear what we're saying. They're going to be mad, and that's just going to be the end of it. Now, on the flip side, when someone really respects you, the chances of them listening to what you really have to say and hearing it and taking it to heart is extremely high, especially when it's someone of incredibly high respect. So, for example, let's say that this is your absolute favorite artist and they're telling you to do something. You're absolutely going to listen to them and do what they have to say. But if it's your art teacher that has made you feel terrible over the years, then you're probably not going to listen. Same as if it's a kid that you just saw that says, "Ew, that art looks ugly." You're not really going to listen to what they have to say, right? Now, let's get into what not to do and what is not criticism or good critique. So most of these all can be avoided if you follow one simple rule, and that is not to give unrequested critique. If you take anything away from this video, please do this. Do not give people critique or tell people what you think, especially if it's quite critical if they didn't ask you for it. This often invites very mean comments like, "What is that? That's ugly. How the hell did you think that was right? What's wrong with this or that? What happened to this person's face in the drawing?" All kinds of different weird, mean things you can say and mean adjectives, and especially you can get people who start to actually just say mean things directly to the person, and that's terrible, and that is not criticism. If somebody is saying those things to you, you don't have to listen. I often say it on stream if it happens to me. You don't have to listen and tell them it's disrespectful and, defend yourself. Hopefully more people will learn to do that for others and be able to defend themselves as well. Now, the second thing I want to point out is the difference between just generic criticism and critiques. A lot of people feel that when they give criticism, they feel that the person who is receiving it should just accept it or learn from it and improve, and that they should go on with their day. However, not all criticism is something that we have to take, especially as artists. The thing is that personal opinions tend to find their way into criticism, And it's really up to the person to decide whether or not they want to acknowledge it. So I'll give a few examples. A lot of people may say you should draw more different things. Some people may say you should use more traditional media. You should paint with oils more. You should paint with charcoal more. You should paint more animals, for example. All of these things are personal opinions, and here's how you can tell why. Personal opinions tend to not really take into consideration the overall goal that the artist in question has. Now, obviously, this is impossible to do if the artist never asked for the criticism in the first place. So, knowing this, hopefully those of you who have done this in the past can pull back and not give unrequested criticism and expect the artist to listen to you and do everything that you say. However, I will also say that if you are receiving this as an artist, try to take it easy and just be like, okay, cool, yeah, or just simply ignore them. It's best not to get angry at them or blow up at them. I've made that mistake in the past, and it just looks really bad on you, especially as you get more mature and more eyes are on you in the art community. I'm looking out for you guys. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I have so that you can grow up to be successful and fantastic and wonderful artists all of your own. Now let's talk a little bit about how to ask for a critique. So there's two main things that you want to do. You want to make sure that you have a specific goal when you ask for a critique. This can look like you simply knowing that, hey, I want to get into this career or I want to get into a job at this place. So you ask with that in mind and you actually mention the place that you want to work. This is especially useful if you're asking for an overall critique of your portfolio. This can also look as simply like, oh, I had a lot of problems with the lighting. I had a lot of problems with the anatomy. And then you get a critique focused on that. The second thing you really want to do is make sure that you ask somebody who has experience doing the thing that you're focused on getting the critique for. The easiest way to do this is to ask for critique from people that you admire and respect, and who are doing basically what you eventually want to do. The reason you want to do both of these things is that if you don't, you can get people, no matter how skilled, giving you critique that doesn't help you or just giving you generic critique because you've overwhelmed them. So, for example, some people will ask me and other artists, how do I improve? Any mistakes, any errors, any tips, and they just hand you their artwork. And that is very stressful for any artist because they have to sit there and think about where you are in life and where you are in your skill and what's most applicable for you and how to say nice things and all of that. And basically you just end up not getting a critique for the most part. But if it's in person, for example, they'll just tell you something that is generic and helps anybody in general and won't really help you with what you want. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is how to receive a critique. And you might be surprised, there is actually a really, really good way to do this, and it's really important to do it. So, first thing is to not have excuses for every single little thing that the person says. If you fail to meet the mark and you're having to excuse yourself for things that they're pointing out that are little errors or mistakes, just sit there and take them and listen. Don't provide excuses because your incompetency and lack of awareness and just initiative is already showing if they're pointing that out. Another thing is, if you're trying to make an excuse for something that's mainly focused at trying to ease your ego from being hurt by what they've said, try your best to just keep quiet and listen to the critique, because it just makes you look less mature and, again, incompetent as an artist when you're just saying, oh, those are my bad ones. Oh, those are from last year. Oh, I'm still working on that. That's not really necessary for them to hear. They really don't need to hear anything unless you're correcting them on something very specific, like, oh no, this was traditional work. Oh, I'm actually trying to focus on getting into this job, not this one. Oh, this is actually my goal here. Those are specific things that would change the manner of the critique that you're being given, and those are absolutely worth mentioning to the person critiquing you. A second thing that you should do while you're receiving criticism is to absolutely ask any questions you feel you need to in order to understand what they're saying better. You don't need to worry about looking smart or not wasting their time. If it's something that you don't quite understand, please ask, and they will absolutely try to help you understand or guide you somewhere where you'll be able to figure out what they're talking about in better detail. And the second to last thing is really to just show appreciation for the critique. People have limited time. Time is everything. It's the most precious thing we have. It's very limited and finite. And so taking the time to appreciate someone who has taken the time to have critiqued you and looked at your artwork and given it some serious thought is something that you absolutely should do every time you get a chance. Now, the last thing is to work diligently after you have had a critique. And this does not mean you just work really hard. That's something you should always do too. But you should not come back to the person who has offered you a critique 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, the next day and say, okay, I fixed it. How is it now? Is it good now? Did I do it right? How does it look? Any mistakes? That is very annoying and can be very stressful again to the person giving critique, because usually the critique is in the form of a fundamental error or mistake that you need to work on and improve for weeks to be able to show improvement and not just overnight. Now, sometimes you're getting critique for something specific that you want to work on and improve later, and you have a much more serious relationship with the person. Like, let's say it's a friend or a teacher that you can see every single day in school that just has you and a few other people as their student. That's fine. You know, that makes perfect sense. But usually you don't want to do that. Even in the case of, let's say I have a painting now that I am thinking about getting criticism for after I post it. When I get criticism, I'm going to do my best to work on it and improve. And then that's it. I'm not going to continue to go ask them over and over again for more detailed advice. I'll come back when I have a new painting, or I'll come back when I have several paintings in order to help them get a better grasp of what I've been thinking about and how I've been approaching the study to improve. I think this is very important for the art community, and I believe that those of you who have not heard all of these things will be so much better off now in your career, because critique is extremely helpful. It can launch your skill growth by like super fast and multiply your experience. And it's like somebody forcing your eyes to open for the first time sometimes when people point things out and you feel like an idiot for not noticing it before. It happens all the time and it's quite exciting, but it takes quite a bit of grit, some toughness to be able to ask for that critique for the first time. So good luck, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, keep drawing, and stay positive.